Good morning, friends. Today we will learn about atypical pneumonia. That means they will not be the typical presentation of pneumonia. So, how the patient of atypical pneumonia will present? So, the cough in case of atypical pneumonia will be non-productive. That is, the sputum will not come there, and the process of this pneumonia is a gradual. So, there will not be an acute onset, but it is a gradual process. There would be presentation of wheezes or rales will be there, that is on auscultation, and this atypical pneumonia usually the infection is occurring in the interstitial space of lung. Therefore, the presentation is also atypical. When we go for the X-ray, they will find peribronchial pneumonia with thickened bronchial markings. Now, what are the different causative pathogens for this atypical pneumonia? So, there are viruses also involved, or there could be bacterial causes. Among the viruses, influenza virus, coronavirus, respiratory syncytial virus, Epstein-Barr virus, and adenovirus. So, these are the main causative agent for the atypical pneumonia. When we talk about bacterial agents, so Mycoplasma pneumoniae is very important pathogen. Then Chlamydia, so 3 species Chlamydia pneumoniae, then Trachomatis and Psittaci all can cause this atypical pneumonia. Then Legionella species, and sometimes this Coxella burnetii, Francisella or Aurantia, so they can also be the causative agent. Basically, this Mycoplasma and Chlamydia and Legionella, these three are the main bacterial agent which can cause this atypical pneumonia. Now, in this video, we are only focusing on the bacterial agent. So, first of all, the most important pathogen, that is the Mycoplasma. Now, this Mycoplasma, it has some features related to bacteria, some features related to the viruses. It is a bacterial agent, but it can easily, because it is very small, so it can get filtered through the bacterial filters. It is the smallest microorganism and it can live freely in the environment, which is not the property of virus. It can grow on the artificial cell culture media, which is also not the property of virus. Now, this pathogen are also called as they are pleomorphic. So, they are also known as the PPLO, that is the pleuropneumonic like organism. So, they don't have a rigid cell wall, therefore, they can change their shapes, and due to which also they are easily filterable through the bacterial filters. As they don't have the rigid cell wall, so the antibiotics which are acting on the cell wall, that is the beta lactams, cephalosporin group, so they all will not act on this bacteria. So this Mycoplasma usually been seen in the as a contaminant of the cell cultures. So this cell culture technique we use for the virus isolation. So there we have seen it as a contaminant. They are also known as the pleuropneumonia-like organism, and how they cause the infection. It is usually being transmitted to person by the inhalation route, and they get attached. This bacteria get attached to the respiratory mucosa and can induce the injury to the host respiratory tissue. Now, this species Mycoplasma pneumoniae that only cause the pneumonia. Other species they cause the genital tract infection. That is the Mycoplasma hominis, genitalium, Ureaplasma ureticum, Ureaplasma parvum. So, when you are getting any short note on the atypical pneumonia, so you have to mention only about the Mycoplasma pneumonia. Now, there are certain complications which are associated with this Mycoplasma infection. That is, after the infection, there can be some autoimmune phenomena, that is like the Guillain-Barré syndrome. Neurologically, meningoencephalitis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, aseptic meningitis. There can be rashes, that is like the Stevens-Johnson syndrome, or involvement of the heart, myocarditis or pericarditis. Sometimes there can be reactive arthritis. Now, how we can diagnose this case of, so first of all, atypical pneumonia, that is being, we say that is by the presentation. How is the presentation? Then on the auscultation, you are finding these findings. So they go in favor. Now, when we are diagnosing the pathogen, we have to take the throat swab or the nasopharyngeal aspirate, bronchial brushings, or lung biopsy, although it is an invasive procedure. So we usually prefer for the throat swab or the nasopharyngeal aspirate. So for growing this bacteria, we need either we have the solid media or we have the liquid media. In solid media, we have the PPLO agar, pleuropneumonia-like organism agar. So we see fried egg appearance colony. This is a particular term which is usually come in the MCQs for the mycoplasma, that is the fried egg appearance colonies. And for seeing these colonies, we do a staining method, that is the Dines staining method. In liquid media, it is the PP yellow broth, and we go for the turbidity. If turbidity is there or any color change, so we say it is positive for the mycoplasma. Then we can go for the biochemical test. Antigen detection also we can go. Antibody detection, that is by the indirect immunofluorescence or latex agglutination. Non-specific methods like cold agglutination test and streptococcus MG test, so they are now obsolete tests. We are not doing these tests. Then we also have an option of the molecular methods. So these are the mycoplasma colonies which is giving the fried egg appearance. Now how you can treat, that is the macrolides is a drug of choice. Usually oral azithromycin is being given. Alternatively doxycycline or the fluoroquinolones like levofloxacin, moxifloxacin or gemifloxacin can be given. Then comes the another bacteria which can cause this atypical pneumonia, that is the Chlamydia. So three species are there which can cause this pneumonia: Chlamydia pneumoniae, Chlamydia psittaceae and Trachomatis. Now we come to the Chlamydia pneumoniae. So it is an exclusive human pathogen. It causes disease only in the humans, and it is also person to person by inhalation route. 10% of this community acquired pneumonia, they can have this atypical pneumonia by this Chlamydia pneumoniae. Other infections like pharyngitis, sinusitis, it is also be seen associated with the atherosclerosis. Asthma and COPD also being seen in this infection. Treatment tetracycline or erythromycin for 10 to 14 days. Then comes the Chlamydia trachomatis. So the serotype D2K that cause the infant pneumonia. So it causes interstitial pneumonia that develop within 3 weeks to 3 months of birth, and it spreads from the conjunctiva to pharynx via the nasolacrimal duct. Treatment is by the erythromycin. Then comes the Legionella. So we have covered the Mycoplasma, another was the Chlamydia, and this one is the third, that is the Legionella. Now these Legionella, they are gram-negative bacteria. They are short, but they are fastidious. Fastidious means they need some extra nutrients to grow. That is, on the basic nutrient agar it will not grow, and they cause the atypical or the interstitial pneumonia, that is known as the Legionnaire's disease. Now this Legionella pneumophilia, that is associated with the 80 to 90% of the infection. And how we can get this infection of Legionella? Usually it has been seen in the natural water sources or the artificial water sources, like they could be river, streams or the ACs, water coolers. So in this there can be the presence of this bacteria and we can get this infection. So how we can get, that is aspiration, oropharyngeal colonization, or directly by drinking the contaminated water, aerosols which have been generated from AC, nebulizers, but no man-to-man transmission is seen in case of Legionella. These are the certain risk factors which are associated, like a person having the smoking, alcoholic or chronic lung disorder, so that can increase the risk of this getting this disease. If there is advanced stage, immunosuppressed, or there is a history of prior hospitalization, so they all can be the risk factor for getting the Legionella infection. Now clinically there can be different presentation. One is the Pontiac's fever in case of Legionella, that is there is only acute flu illness, that is like in the viral infection we have fever, malaise, headache, so that is the only presentation in case of Legionella. Incubation period will be short there and it will be self-limiting, so there will be no deep infection, no pneumonia, it is only the viral infection. Now the Legionnaire's disease, that is the atypical pneumonia. So here the lung is involved and interstitial tissue is involved. The incubation period is 2 to 10 days and the same features are there: non-protective cough, dyspnea, chest pain, high fever, or they could be also GI complaint like that of diarrhea. When we see for chest X-ray, the same finding will be there, that is a pulmonary infiltrates will be there. Sometimes they can also be the extrapulmonary, that is usually be seen that once their lung get involved, so the infection can through the blood stream can reach to the other sites also. So they can be myocarditis, pericarditis or the prosthetic valve endocarditis. So how we can diagnose this Legionella? The sample will be the same: sputum, bronchoalveolar lavage fluid, bronchial wash, pleural fluid. So first is the direct microscopy. We can go for the gram stain. So when we do the gram stain, we find lots of neutrophils will be there, but no organism, because it is a poorly gram stained organism. So that can be a clue that lots of pus cells are there. Then other options are Giemsa staining, silver impregnation or direct immunofluorescence test. So this is the picture on gram staining. You can see the gram negative bacteria are there, and that is the growth on the buffer charcoal yeast extract agar. So culture we can go for the buffer charcoal yeast extract agar. We need 5% CO2 also for that, and it takes 3 to 5 days to grow. Then other methods are antibody detection, that is the indirect immunofluorescence antibody test or enzyme immunoassay. Urinary antigen test can also be done, and molecular methods can also be used for diagnosing the Legionnaires' disease. For treatment, the macrolide, that is the azithromycin, and the respiratory quinolones, they are the antibiotic of choice. So that's all for this atypical pneumonia. So this can be, sometimes we can get confused in the wards. So there you have to clearly take the history, and while auscultating you can have these findings. So that can be very helpful. We should know that the pathogens are totally different when we are talking of atypical pneumonia or typical pneumonia. So hope you must have learned in this video. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section. Thank you.